A key part of the course is understanding the legislative process, which basically means in the UK how a law's made. So anything with the word legislative, legislation, anything like that, it's that leg bit at the start, like legal. So it's anything to do with laws. Okay, so basically both Houses of Parliament, House of Commons and the House of Lords, they all have debates, and the members in both houses discuss government policy, propose new laws and topical issues of the day. So for example, the coronavirus lockdowns, what's going to happen with all of that, that is all discussed in Parliament under both houses. When they have these debates, they're designed to assist MPs and Lords to reach an informed decision on a subject. They often hold votes to conclude a debate to say whether they agree with a policy or whether they agree with a proposed new law. They then involve pass on or reject a proposed new law or legislation, or simply registering their opinion on a subject. Members of Parliament can discuss issues that their constituents have brought up, which is where you guys and everybody in the country is entitled to have a say on the legislative process. All debates are recorded in a big publication called the Hansard, and that's available online or in print. So both houses debate policy and laws. There are some questions for you to answer. Press pause and have a go. If you've got access to the textbooks, you can have a look at page 126, but we know those textbooks are quite text heavy, they're quite big words. Simplified, they literally say there are 3 stages to a law being passed, 3 different kind of processes it goes through. The first one is what's called a green paper, and this is the first kind of formation, the ideas for a bill, and it's used to get information. So maybe an MP will stand up in Parliament and come up with a proposal to discuss a new legislation or something new. It'll then go away and be researched by groups of people within House of Commons, within House of Lords. They'll get specialists involved, they might do focus groups, so on and so forth, do a lot of research around it, but the green paper is the initial idea. It then moves on to a white paper, which is when all the research has been done, when they've formulated a full-on idea for a new bill, a new law. Okay? When that's been agreed, it then becomes a bill, which is the new legislation that's going to be debated. Okay, so Parliament is the UK's legislative authority. Strictly speaking, it's got 3 elements. We know this. We know Parliament is the monarch, who's the King or Queen, the House of Lords, where the Lords are, who, remember, are not elected. They are experts in their field. Some of them are still hereditary peers, which means their fathers were lords, their grandfathers were lords, and so on and so forth. But most lords now are elected. No, they're not. None of them are elected. Most lords now are experts in their field who've been chosen by the Prime Minister. And then we've got the House of Commons, which is the elected house. It's more powerful. That's the one with the MPs in. So those 3 parts all form Parliament, and Parliament is our legislation. All 3 elements must be in agreement for a proposal to become a law. When a proposed new law is being debated by Parliament, it's called a bill. Once the bill's been passed successfully through both Houses of Parliament, it then receives royal assent and it becomes an Act of Parliament. What that literally means is it has to go from the idea of being a green paper, formulated to a white paper, agreed on, yep, this is the new law we want, it becomes a bill. It's then debated. If, for example, an MP's brought it, it's debated in the House of Commons. When they agree to it, it goes over to the House of Lords. If they disagree, it gets ping-ponged back to the House of Commons. They might make some what's called amendments or changes. They then send it back to the House of Lords, and it can go backwards and forwards several times until the House of Lords are in agreement. When they finally agree, it then gets passed to the Queen, who signs it off as an Act of Parliament. With the House of Lords, they don't actually have to agree to it for it to go through. If the House of Commons are desperate for a law to go through, they can push it through without the House of Lords agreement. And the reason is the House of Commons are more powerful because they are elected and we live in a democracy. but that very rarely happens. The legislative role of the monarch has mainly been taken over by government ministers. When people talk about Parliament, they really talk about Palace of Westminster, which is the Houses of Parliament. The kind of royal assent bit is kind of just a tradition now. It doesn't really mean that much. In fact, I think it's been hundreds of years before since a monarch has said no to a bill. Okay, few questions there for you to answer. Press pause and have a go. Okay, there is an interactive whiteboard lesson to have a go at if we've got time in class. And then you've got a couple of GCSE questions. So press pause, have a go at answering it. Okay, what I'd like you guys to do now then is this. Have a go at designing your own bill for a proposed new law. Write about half a page in your booklet, you've got space for it. You need to say what the law is, why you want it, and also how it's going to be enforced. You are then going to present your idea to the rest of your table. They're going to what's called scrutinise this bill, so they're going to be like the House of Lords and pick it apart. If you're willing to make changes, that's great, and see if you can get it passed by your table. Then for your homework, have a go at creating some of your own 1-mark GCSE style questions, and next lesson you'll be able to ask the others if they can answer them.